Fresh off a clean victory over Big E in the main event of Survivor Series, Universal Champion Roman Reigns arrived at SmackDown tonight, ready to find out which superstar would step up as his next challenger. That person would be determined in a battle royale featuring the Blue Brand roster. Who would emerge as the top contender to the most coveted title in all of WWE? Let's find out. Hello, friends, and welcome to the Cerebral Smack Talk. Don't adjust your audio. Yes, it is I, Anthony Florio, sitting in tonight for good old MF Michael Fletcher. Work commitments beyond his control. Same for Dee Woodson. We apologize for the late start. Not going to really address that, but we do apologize for the late start, anyways. We're ready to go. Friday night Smack. You know how we do it on Cerebral Smack Talk. Friday night SmackDown, AEW Rampage. So, without any further ado, let's dive right on in to Friday night SmackDown live tonight from the legendary Greensboro Coliseum in Greensboro, North Carolina, on Fox. And it started out. Kayla Braxton was in the ring. Pleasant surprise. And she was apparently was going to address the possible suspension lifted, the lifting of the suspension of Brock Lesnar. But then shortly as she was trying to do that, Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman, they show up, and then Paul Heyman comes in and reads her the riot act, gets in her face and all that stuff. So Paul Heyman browbeating Kayla Braxton may have seemed somewhat mean-spirited, but it is a great look at the psyche of the special counsel. Here is Heyman sharing the ring with Roman Reigns, feeling overly confident in his ability to get one over on Kayla after months of her exposing his links to Brock Lesnar. With backup, he takes on an air of authority that he otherwise does not have. He bullied Kayla Braxton, and that will inevitably come back to bite him in the ass. For now, it was a nice touch to a character that has been every bit as great as Reigns over the last year. Speaking of the head of the table, there wasn't much to take away from his promo except one gut punch of a line that insinuated Reigns believes his time in WWE may be winding down. Is there something we don't know? Was it just a throwaway line meant to generate discussion? Could Reigns be negotiating? Whatever the case may be, it was an eyebrow-raising line for sure. So there isn't much more to say on this. So, Phenom, Michael Bullock, come on in. Let's get your thoughts on this opening segment. I mean, fresh off another one of our legendary SmackDown chats as always. And lo and behold, when the show started, we were like, what's Kayla Braxton doing in there? We were pleasantly surprised, and it ended up being another great segment.
Yeah, it was definitely a really good segment here. I mean, basically, like you said, we were surprised to see Kayla Braxton in the ring, and then, like you said, it looked like she was going to address Brock Lesnar's suspension possibly being lifted, and then that's when the Tribal Chief and Paul Heyman basically showed up, and yeah, Heyman basically gave Kayla read her the riot act. I mean, everything that she said about Lesnar, and and then basically Roman then took the mic and basically addressed that he thought he was the greatest superstar of all time. There's a bunch of other superstars who would disagree with what Reigns said, and then of course addressing the battle royal to determine who would be next in line for the Universal Championship. So nice way to start it off. So there's really nothing more to say except Florio. Let's move on.
And Bullock, you'll lead off on our first match of the night, which was announced earlier today. One of two matches that was announced earlier today on social media. We had a tag team match. It was Drew McIntyre teaming up with North Carolina's own Jeff Hardy, squaring off against the team of Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. The winners of the match in an even 8 minutes, Drew McIntyre and Jeff Hardy, And Bullock, we when we saw this, we saw how it went down. Drew McIntyre hit the Claymore, but he's like, no, I'm gonna let the home state boy get his moment here with the Swanton. Finished it off. Charlie Robb counts the 1, 2, 3. McIntyre and Hardy pick up the win.
Yeah, you saw that was a pretty good gesture by Drew McIntyre. Basically, after, like you said, when he hit the Claymore, he basically said, no. The hometown boy's gonna get this one, and that's exactly what he did here. And yeah, I mean, the hometown boy gets the pinfall victory for the team. So I'll give it two 2.5 stars as my rating on the match. So yeah, there's really nothing more for me to add to it. So Florio, what's yours?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. There was nothing to this one that you wouldn't see in a house show, but the crowd loved Jeff Hardy. The hometown / home state boy was motivated, turned in a great performance as the babyface in peril before coming back to score the decisive pinfall. Hardy has been red hot of late and would make the perfect top contender to Roman Reigns between now and WrestleMania. He's beloved. He can work a main event style WWE match, and its strengths meshed well with Reigns. Let them tear the house down in some heated main events and reap the rewards, especially considering the lack of ready babyfaces beyond Hardy, Drew McIntyre, and maybe King Xavier Woods. So I definitely agree with the rating there, 2.5 stars. And we move on to the other match that was promoted ahead of time on social media today. Ridge Holland, he went up against Cesaro, and Cesaro wins the match in 2 minutes and 45 seconds. Well, it feels almost sacrilegious to complain about Cesaro winning a match, but in this context, it didn't make sense. Unless there are doubts about Ridge Holland's ability to thrive at this level, he probably should have won his first match on television. At the very least, he was given the opportunity to dominate a superior wrestler, letting his inexperience and confidence prove the difference between victory and defeat. Holland is a rough, rigid worker who is still very inexperienced considering his opposition, but working with the best in the business will help him evolve and grow as a performer. So I would probably give this about 1.5 to 2 for the rating. But before I move on, Michael Bullock, I mean, wouldn't you consider this a surprise outcome, considering this was Ridge Holland's first match?
Yeah, I would consider this a surprise outcome. I mean, because, yeah, like you said, I mean, this was his first match, and I was thinking maybe this was the where Ridge Holland would go over, but I'm with you, Florio. I mean, to me, this doesn't make any sense here. I mean, if you want us to take Ridge Holland seriously, you should go over here. But
Agreed.
Fortunately, that's not the case here. So 1.5 to 2, I agree with you on it. So, but man, I mean, I thought this match should have gone maybe just a little bit longer. So
yeah,
there's really nothing more to say. So I give it to you, Florio.
But we both agreed that it was a man fight, though.
Oh, it was. But I just was expecting more.
Agreed. I was expecting more as well. All right. This next match, we're definitely going to bypass this because this is the traditional holiday silliness match. And you know how much Bullock and I love those. Yeah, right. Said no one. So you had your typical holiday silliness match. It was Rick Boogs squaring off against Angel Garza in a Thanksgiving leftovers throwdown. And Angel Garza wins the match 3 minutes and 15 seconds. There was nothing inherently wrong with the match outside of the forced usage of Thanksgiving props. But this is very much a feud going nowhere. Worse yet, it only hurts whoever comes out on the losing end. I hate to say this, but Shinsuke Nakamura is a lame duck champion who has not defended his Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship in 2 months. And Rick Boogs is actually over. So it would behoove WWE to try to protect him. On the other side of the ring, too many losses for Los Lotharios hurts their credibility before they even get a fair shot on the run. None of this is hitting, but it is keeping the performers on television. So there's that. But this, to me, I would say was the worst fight of the night. Probably about a 1 star or so effort here. So we're just going to bypass that. Then we had Charlotte Flair. Charlotte Flair came out and it was an in-ring interview with Michael Cole that was interrupted by Toni Storm. And you notice that the Thanksgiving leftovers were still out there. And unfortunately, they came into play. And let's just say, Bullock, that Toni Storm got bullied, a la Charlotte Flair being the bully that she is, always has been, and always will be.
I was gonna say, does this surprise you about Charlotte Flair?
Absolutely not.
I mean, come on. I mean, this is why Charlotte Flair is deemed the most hated superstar in WWE overall. I mean, not just because of what she does in the ring, but especially outside the ring with all the backstage drama with her and Becky Lynch, and basically, I mean, I understand what you're trying to do with this, trying to build for this rivalry, but to me, this was not the right way to do it. I mean, if you want us to take Toni Storm seriously, I mean, you didn't have to go as far as this and try to make Toni Storm look like an absolute joke. So, yeah, as far as I'm concerned, Florio, I'm not going to comment on the. I'm not going to comment on the remainder of this. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Charlotte Flair is nothing more than a piece of you know what. So it is yours.
Yeah, so Toni Storm just stood there after the second pie and didn't do anything about it. It was a strange segment that made the top challenger to Charlotte Flair's title look super weak rather than helping her to build equity with fans who aren't as familiar with her work. That will prove costly later when WWE gives the two women 13 or so minutes on pay-per-view and expects the audience to be invested, only to remember they booked Storm so poorly in the lead-up to the show. Flair just brushing off her loss to Becky Lynch as a refereeing issue felt tone deaf as well. So with that being said, let's move on. Women's tag team action. We had Sasha Banks and Naomi, a little mini Team Bad reunion, squaring off against Shayna Baszler and Natalya. Winners of the match in 10 minutes and 15 seconds. Sasha Banks and Naomi, they win the match. Yeah, finally, this was finally a good match here. Natalya and Baszler did a hell of a job of cutting the ring off and really putting Naomi in a position to build sympathy. The crowd was firmly behind her, making her pinfall victory that much more impactful. The feud with Sonya Deville has been fantastically done, and by the time those two finally clash in a match, it'll be the most heated non-title women's match in a long damn time. If there was one disappointing element to the whole thing, it was the absence of Shotzi. Is she just not pissed off at Banks anymore? Are we tossing her aside now that Survivor Series is over? Yes, this was all about the Naomi and Sonya Deville feud, but it was set up via Sasha Banks. So why not also feature Shotzi in some form or fashion in this segment? I don't know. But a very good match for what it was. One of the top fights of the night. Probably give this about 3 to 3.25 stars or so. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, even though Tamina's on Raw, the other 2/3 of Team Bad, Sasha and Naomi, a little mini Team Bad reunion, and they got it done just like they did back in 2015.
Yeah, this definitely was a mini Bad reunion with these two teaming up, and yeah, I mean, this was definitely a good match here. I'll give it about maybe 2.5 to 3 as well. I mean, as you said, this whole rivalry between her and Sonya has been spot on as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, so there's really nothing more for me to say on it. So let's move on for you.
All right, and I believe this should take us to the Battle Royal. Yes, it is. The Black Friday Invitational Battle Royale for the future shot at the Universal Championship. We thought that Jeff Hardy had won it, but upon further review, the winner of the match, 14 minutes and 35 seconds, lame duck man Sami Zayn. Oh boy. But Kayla Braxton came back in and she announced that Brock Lesnar's suspension was lifted. And Adam Pearce had that, oh, you got to be kidding me look on his face. Because he didn't call for it. I don't think Sonya called for it. I think there was only one man who overruled that. And it had to be none other than one Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Wouldn't you agree, Michael Bullock, as I give it to you?
Oh, I agree. I mean, it has to be. It basically has to be Vince McMahon that was the one to lift the suspension. I mean, hello. I mean, we all know the history with these two. So, yeah, as far as this goes, I mean, the funny thing is, Florio, you and I called this. I mean, we thought that Jeff Hardy was gonna. We thought he had won it, and then all of a sudden we see Sami Zayn eliminate him, and we were like, wait a minute. And then you basically said he was never eliminated. And, oh man, I mean, this was such a great moment, only to be taken away by, I mean, but really? Lame Duckman wins it, and he gets the shot? I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm with Roman and the rest of the bloodline. I'm literally laughing and basically saying, as far as I'm concerned, this is an absolute joke. I mean, what was the point of this? You should have had at least Jeff Hardy win it and have his moment in front of the home state, and instead you do this. No, I don't like it, and it absolutely stinks. So, yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say. I'm not even gonna bother commenting on this. So, Florio, it's yours.
Well, despite the BS ending, this to me was by default the fight of the night. I'm going to give this about 3.25 to 3.5 stars. Even though we know that
three and a half stars is my rating too. I forgot to give it.
I mean, it was a fine match. It was fine, but now I got to unleash hell here. This was the least inspired battle royal in quite some time, with little or no attention paid to presenting compelling sequences or an interesting side story. It was a match that existed for the sake of existing, especially when you take into consideration how quickly the winner was dismissed and ignored in the wake of the Brock Lesnar news. Sami Zayn was just tossed aside to the point that no one would really be surprised if his title shot disappeared, never to be spoken of again. And all of that goodwill the company built with the North Carolinians by way of Jeff Hardy's win earlier in the show, gone following the screwy finish. I don't think the hiding heel gimmick really works anymore, but I will say that it was a big surprise to have Sami Zayn actually win the match to earn the future title shot. I guess we'll see if they follow through with the match or if Sami Zayn finds a way to lose his shot. Because remember, he was supposed to be on that men's Survivor Series team, but Jeff Hardy beat him and he ended up being out of it. So let's not, get all angry and upset yet. As for there was a very notable omission from this. Drew McIntyre. And Bullock and I had a little back and forth about this during our SmackDown chat. I'm going to clear it up right here and now. I'm fine with Drew not being in the match if he was not going to be booked to win it. More importantly, McIntyre being slighted by the authority figures Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville is the first step toward making viewers want to see him get his title shot. So that's really all there is to say on that. So we're going to give this 3.25 to 3.5 stars. I mean, I mean, there was definitely those elements of Shakespearean drama in there, but I would have liked to have seen a little more, as far as side stories and other things go. But
Yeah, and like you said, Florio, I mean, and as far as what happened earlier in the night with Hardy getting the win here, I'll even go as far as to say it never even happened because now people aren't going to remember it because of the screwy finish.
exactly. So, but we'll see what happens. I don't think Sami Zayn's gonna. I don't think it's gonna end up being Sami. I think they let Sami have the win here, but I got a feeling it could be. I mean, I've heard that there are plans that they want to continue the Reigns and Lesnar feud, and I wouldn't be surprised if this leads to day one or if it ends up leading sooner. I don't know. We'll see. But anywho,
Or the Royal Rumble.
well, big stadium, the Edward Jones Dome, the Dome at America Center in St. Louis that'd be a perfect fight to end it. But then again, Jeff Hardy, I mean, that's a possibility as well. So we'll wait and see. But we got bigger plans for the Scottish Warrior. That's all there is to say on that. But anyways, overall, a somewhat passable show for a holiday show, even though we had that little bit of silliness in there. Battle Royal was the fight of the night. You had a solid women's tag team matchup. The opening match was okay. But, we had the holiday silliness. And then what happened with Charlotte and Toni Storm. I'm going to give this an excess of 6 to 6.5. I think that's the correct rating for this. So, not really much more to say on this. Michael Bullock, let's get to your overall review, and then we'll get into AEW Rampage.
Yeah, 6 out of 10 is my rating for this. I mean, it was a passable show, but yeah, you had some silliness with that Thanksgiving leftover throwdown with Rick Boogs and Angel, and then of course that whole thing with Charlotte and Toni Storm that basically rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, Toni Storm getting treated like a nobody. But then again, like I said before, what else would you expect from Charlotte Flair, who is, I said it before, and you know what? I'll even say it, Florio. And you, I mean, if you, I think she is the most hated woman in wrestling today. I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
I can't think of any other woman in professional wrestling that's gotten more heat than Charlotte Flair. So
I don't know anybody.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, all this backstage drama with what happened with Becky Lynch, and she had some. Let's not forget as well. She actually had a confrontation with Sonya Deville, and let's just say Vince McMahon wasn't happy about it. So
No, indeed not.
you can understand why people just simply don't like her right now.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, she probably doesn't even give a damn what you think about her. So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, you had some quality matches too, but it was just that ending that just of that battle royal that just rubbed me the wrong way. So
Yeah, right
6
here
out
with
of
you.
10 for me. What did you say?
Yeah, right there with you. Right there with you.
Yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. So now let's get to AEW Rampage.
AEW Rampage was taped this past Wednesday night in collision with the Dynamite taping from the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois. The day after Thanksgiving usually involves eating leftovers, trying to get relatives out of the house before they overstay their welcome, and standing in long lines for a slightly bigger discount on a TV. Thankfully, it also means there is plenty of pro wrestling on television. Tonight's special Black Friday episode of Rampage had 3 interesting matchups on the card to help us get through that turkey hangover. After it was discovered that Riho was never eliminated from the Casino Battle Royale, AEW President Tony Khan gave her a match against Women's Champion Britt Baker, with the stipulation being if Riho won, she would earn a future title shot. Following their backstage confrontation Wednesday on Dynamite, Daniel Garcia went up against Eddie Kingston in the main event. And we also saw Orange Cassidy and Wheeler Yuta of Best Friends take on this mini Undisputed Era reunion team of Adam Cole and Bobby Fish in tag team action. And let's take a look at everything that happened on this taped edition of AEW Rampage from the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois on TNT. And we started with the match. Adam Cole and Bobby Fish squaring off against Orange Cassidy and Wheeler Yuta. Winners of the match, 12 minutes and 55 seconds. Adam Cole and Bobby Fish, they pick up the win. And that is undisputed. So, solid 3.25, 3.5 star match here. Mixing comedy and good technical wrestling is not the easiest thing to do, but these four guys managed to pull it off, especially during the first half of the bout. This bout had great energy, a hot crowd, and some fun spots. It was a great way to kick off the show and highlight three newer stars and one who has been there since AEW launched. Wheeler Yuta and Adam Cole were the standouts in this match. Let's hope a singles bout between them is in the cards. So this was a solid 3.25 to 3.5 stars for this effort. So Michael Bullock, Adam Cole, and Bobby Fish, the mini Undisputed Era reunion gets it done, and that is undisputed.
Yeah, that was definitely undisputed with this mini Undisputed Era reunion and getting the Adam Cole and Bobby Fish get the victory over Orange Cassidy and Wheeler Yuta here. So, yeah, 3.5 stars for me. I mean, this was a solid way to start off Rampage here, and definitely gives Cole and Fish some momentum here. So, there's really nothing more for me to say. So, let's move on, Florio.
And we move on to that big women's matchup here. It was the AEW Women's Champion, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, along with Rebel and Jamie Hayter, squaring off against Riho. And the winner of the match in 11 minutes and 10 seconds and earning a future shot at the AEW Women's Championship, Riho. Riho gets it done in 11 minutes and 10 seconds. Michael Bullock, we have a new number one contender, and it happens to be the inaugural AEW Women's World Champion. Because remember, who was the very first champion? It was Riho when she defeated Nyla Rose on the very first episode of Dynamite 2+ years ago.
Yeah, and I was actually surprised with the outcome here, Florio, because going into this, I mean, I was thinking, yeah, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD was gonna get one over on her, obviously with help from Rebel and Jamie Hayter, and basically telling Riho to get to the back of the line, but no, I guess obviously because of the mistake they made, that with Riho never getting eliminated in the battle royal, they felt like, I guess, they wanted to put her over and give her that opportunity. So good for her, for the inaugural champion. So what was the time of the poll again, Florio?
11 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah, I'll give this about maybe 3.25 for this match here. I mean, yeah, good for Riho, and now she gets a future shot at the title. So yeah, there's really nothing more to say. So Florio, it is yours.
Oh, excuse me. This was a surprisingly competitive match that made Riho look better than she has in any match since losing the title, other than possibly her encounter with Serena Deeb. Even though Riho came into AEW with a lot of praise for her work, she has improved quite a bit since the company launched. If you look at her early matches compared to this one, she has a much better flow to her work. The same can be said for Baker. DMD has also slowly added muscle over the last several months, so the size difference between them was a little more pronounced than usual. It helped make Riho more of an underdog. A nice match with a crowd-pleasing finish. Baker doesn't lose often, so this packed a punch. Excalibur on commentary mentioned during the match that Baker has never beaten Riho in a singles match, so you have to assume that will be a big part of the hype for their eventual title match. So 3 to 3.25 stars. I definitely agree with the rating on that. So with that, we move on to the main event of the evening. Eddie Kingston versus Daniel Garcia. Winner of the match in an even 15 minutes, Eddie Kingston. By default, this was the fight of the night. I'm going to give this about 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. The first two matches were competitive, but much more traditional in their presentation. This bout was more like a fist fight, which is exactly what it needed to be. Daniel Garcia and Eddie Kingston both used some standard wrestling maneuvers, but they were much more aggressive in the way they went about dishing out punishment. They did a great job making it feel like they really hate each other with a passion. It was smart to put this match in the main event spot because it was unlikely anything was going to beat it. Kingston gave Garcia a lot of offense, but I just never bought into the possibility of Garcia winning this match without getting help from Lee and Parker, the former Everrise. I'd really like to see AEW give Daniel Garcia a meaningful win soon to give him a credibility boost if they're going to keep putting him in Rampage main events. He's a talented guy, and the broadcast team is good about singing his praises, but they need to give viewers a reason to believe that he's actually a threat to beat some of the bigger names he works with. But other than that, this was the fight of the night. 3.5, teetering on 3 3/4 of a star. So not much more to say. Michael Bullock, your thoughts on the main event?
Yeah, by default, this was the fight of the night. I'll give this about 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star as well. I mean, yeah, it was definitely a good match here. I mean, basically, this was the right move, like you said, to basically put this as the main event of the show. So, yeah, so there's really nothing more to add to it. So, as far as for my overall thoughts on this show, since I'm gonna lead it off,
Yeah.
um, I'll give it about maybe 7, 7.5. I mean, the first two matches were good. I mean, or as you would say, Florio, solid but unspectacular. But the main event really definitely put it over. So 7, 7.5. Florio, what's yours?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. 7.5. Overall, a solid show with 3 fairly predictable match results. But no complaints about the predictability in this case, as all 3 match outcomes were logical. Garcia needing a meaningful win rather than suggesting that it should have come at the expense of Kingston in their match. You assume that Chris Jericho saving Eddie Kingston is leading to the two of them teaming up. And I'm curious to see if that works out or if they will self-destruct. And the plan is for this to lead to to an eventual match between those two, which would be a great match. So, but yeah, I mean, all 3 matches. I mean, the first 2 matches, they were solid, but not overly spectacular. But the main event definitely helped out with the end there. So 3.5 to 3 3/4 for that main event. But this was a 7 to 7.5 overall show. I 100% agree. So with that will put the bow on this latest edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We'll be back with you tomorrow night, as will good old MF Michael Fletcher. He should be back with us tomorrow night. 10:30 tomorrow night, NFL Saturday. Week number 12. We'll address the Thanksgiving games that went down. We'll fill you in on what happened with those, and then we'll set the table for the Sunday portion of Week 12. A lot of appetizing matchups, which is only fitting on this Thanksgiving weekend, obviously. So we'll get into that tomorrow night. Monday night, right back here on the Tone 25 for Ridiculously Raw, as we will review Monday Night Raw, as always, from the brand new New York Islanders arena, the UBS Arena. We'll get into that. And it'll be a relatively short Tony's Take this time around. I'm not going to review Impact Wrestling because it was the Wrestle House 2 Thanksgiving special. And quite frankly, nothing to speak of on that. So I'm not going to do an Impact Wrestling recap. I am, however, going to do a 205 Live, and that's all we're going to do on Monday night. Wednesday, we got Wednesday Night Mayhem, NXT 2.0, AEW Dynamite. Thursday, the season finale of Strictly Sports College Football Thursday, Championship Week, as we will get into Championship Week. All the big conference championship games. Of course, the headliner, obviously, the SEC championship game between Georgia and Alabama, and so much more. We'll get into the Big Ten championship, the Big 12 championship, Pac-12 championship, American Athletic Championship, ACC, the whole 9 yards. We'll get into all that on Thursday night. And then right back here next week, Hopefully MF will be back, and we'll have the Cerebral Smack Talk back over on his channel, BraceFan95. Once again, we apologize for the late start. Michael Bullock was tied up. I think he had some loose ends to tie up or something like that. I don't know what was going on, but thankfully, we got him, so that was good. So that'll do it. So until tomorrow night at 10:30 for the Week 12 edition of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday, this is Anthony Florio sitting in tonight for good old MF Michael Fletcher, signing off on behalf of all of us here at the Wrestling Forum and Strictly Sports, the aforementioned good old MF Michael Fletcher, who couldn't be with us tonight due to work commitments beyond his control, the Phenom Michael Bullock, as always, the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, the Twisted Angel Didi Woodson, and, of course, the man who put it all together in the first place over 10 years ago, that being the one and only Yankee Messiah 401, Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Saturday. And until tomorrow night for the Week 12 edition of Strictly Sports NFL Saturday, you've been watching the Cerebral Smack Talk right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. And remember, my friends, no matter what anyone tells you, beyond anything else, wrestling is indeed actually real. For everybody who's been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long, and bye, 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 bye.